good news. The warning is that you can't do this anymore. The good news is that when you change, you'll have a different life. You have a better life. You have a different society. You have a better society by adhering to what is coming from the Creator about all men being created equal. About men and women should have dignity and respect in society. The stories that we capture and that we pull into our life have to really represent the transformation we want to see in our society. So the stories we should talk about and repeat are the stories of the prophets. They are models and examples of what transformation we're looking for. But not only should we stop there, and I'm speaking to the Islamic heritage, right? That we start there, but we should never stop there. Because it is the ones who get inspired, who are inspired, that have a certain narrative or direction of their life that's powerful, that many can attach to see it closer to them in history. And it's not because of their name. It's not because of their stature in society. It's not because of those things. But it is about what type of movement they created by understanding their true power and their true nature. And I'm speaking about Harriet Tubman. I'm speaking about Nat Turner. I'm speaking about Omar bin Said. I'm speaking about all of the many faces you see throughout this space, from artists to leaders of church communities, religious movements, spirituality in terms of bringing that back center into the lives of societies that discarded it. Artists who brought out attention to what is fully inside the human being to express their life and their vision for what they see and what they hear and what they want to articulate. Power in words. When I meet a young man who's just returned home from prison, I'm going to qualify it. The organization that I lead in Atlanta is the Inner City Muslim Action Network, started in Chicago. This year is the 20th anniversary. Many of you have heard of it. The focus is about transforming, serving, and changing the inner cities of America. And it's focused on the cities of like Chicago as a direct place for programming for 20 years now with different levels. One, it started with a health clinic. Two, a health clinic that focuses on the health and wellness of individuals in that community. But beyond that, mental health, behavioral health. But one of the other programs that has come out of that is a green reentry program. And that reentry, raise your hand, I want to see just a feel of who knows. Kyle actually is, back in the day, worked for the organization probably about 10 years ago.
Not that far back.
3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2006 to 2009.
He's old. But how many have heard of Imam? Just so I can really get to some of the points about the work. Okay, good. And that's good. An incredible model for what can be duplicated and utilized throughout the country for action-oriented mobilizing. And this Atlanta project is a pilot. It is the first initiative to take it out of Chicago and have it organically develop in another city based on the urban conditions of a city like Atlanta, which is unique, but yet same challenges and conditions. Our first programmatic act was establishing the Green Reentry Program, focused on criminal justice reform. Now, why criminal justice reform? Why is that a problem for me? I'm a Muslim.
Still embedded in the community, right?
Because it is one of the top 3 issues and challenges of America today. We are the country that incarcerates more people on this planet Earth than any other country. And the problem is not something from a really grandiose, competitive, we incarcerate more people than China. There's no competition in this, but there's this sense of how do you treat the citizens of your country when you have a history of slavery and oppression and bondage. There's a beautiful saying by Brother Ali, who's a rap artist. He says when Allah talks about freeing the slave, when the Quran and the Prophet talks about freeing the slave, how do we register that in today's day and time? We have to think about the criminal justice system.
Number 13.
Amendment 13. right? So the idea of connecting real issues to faith and how to transform that reality today is bringing Al-Islam to life in this day and hour, right? So bringing your consciousness to life is about looking for the very important issues that are affecting our society. There's a powerful speaker called Brian Stevenson, if you've heard of him. He speaks about this idea in Germany today where they cannot have the death penalty as a process of criminal justice, so to speak. Death penalty cannot be on the table at all for Germany. Why do you think that's so? He said because of the Holocaust. Why do you think? Say something.
I'd like to think it's because they're more concerned with rehabilitation than killing people.
Okay. Anyone else? Why can't Germany have the death penalty on the table for in their laws?
They're some of the largest criminals on the planet.
Okay.
Nothing to do with them.
They were
Yeah,
or are. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. That's all.
yeah, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
They've never been prosecuted.
Talk to me. Why would that be something that say this is invaluable that we can put this idea on the table as an option to kill someone for their crimes? There's a law that says we cannot have a law that has death as a punishment. Why would they do something like that?
They view it as the state committing murder. Even
The
if
state is committing murder,
that's how they view it. Yeah.
and the state shouldn't have a right to commit murder. Why? Everyone else in the world is doing it.
Well, the state is supposed to be representing public interests.
Okay. What is it in history that says that?
This is what?
Yeah.
That
Well, they're supposed to be representing public interests, and because of the fact that they know as a state government, they've committed a lot of awful crimes.
there we go.
That's the
You guys are
Holocaust.
sanitizing this stuff like you really care about the German people. That's great. What do you think?
I would hope to think, I don't know that, but I would hope to think it's cruel and unusual punishment. I think it's torture, and it's,
Yeah.
as such, if this is a torturous activity, the state cannot engage in it.
The government systematically killed millions of people intentionally for years, decades. The government systematically criminalized citizens of their nation by the book, by the law, without proper opposition. They have a history of doing it the wrong way. So therefore, we have to take away this right or this idea for us to be able to now think we've sanitized our history, we've cleaned up our act, so now we can go back to killing people as a government. We just have to take it off the table. It's easier sometimes, and I thought it would be a lot easier for us to get to that point in this audience when we're talking about another nation than when we're talking about our own. But systematically for 400 years, it is a crime to be black, African, a man of color, a woman of color in the United States. It is a crime. No matter where you went, you were labeled as a criminal, a suspect, a problem, a slave, property, 1/5 human being, not even able to vote or consciously be a part of society, right?
Right.
It's the history. But it is a history that informs the present. It is a history that continues to have a line of truth in how we engage, see each other, respond to one another. And we see that if the majority of our prisoners in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, the mass population of incarcerated people were people of African descent, black people, then how can we continue to do that without a different option? Without saying enough is enough. We have to find a different solution. We have to find a different way. We're guilty of a certain way in which we responded to this population of our people of this land as a government. So how can we now continue to do the same thing or have the same results by a different name? The mass incarceration of black and brown people. So for black and brown people like myself, it's very difficult to begin to really look into this problem as something solvable. Just as many who said, why would you run away? Where are you going to go? Who's going to feed you? Who's going to put a roof over your head? And by the way, fried chicken is popular for us because it lasts for months without spoiling. Cornbread too. And we love it today, but we forgot why we loved it back then. It's runaway food. Is that right? I learned that coming here. Right? So the idea of moving away from a system that's harming us has always been a challenge for us, even the ones who were quote unquote free. Right? And we can name names, we can go through what they strove to do, but your dream says everyone should have stood against slavery. Your dream, your hopes is that everyone at that time should have saw that it was wrong. You know, you can hear some dope raps that talk about if I was a slave, this is what I do, bing, 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 bing. With this bold, right, this brave concept around what you would do then. But what are you going to do now when you see the same social conditions happening against black and brown people? My brother was incarcerated for 25 years. I've never been arrested, I've never been locked up, I've never been pulled over. None of that has ever happened to me personally. But it's always been a constant threat since I was conscious that this is possible for you, young black man. And you have to constantly be on guard because your time is coming soon. So forget the statistics, it's the life. But the statistics say that 1 out of every 5 black men in America will be incarcerated at one point in their life. How many people in this room, in this space, know someone that's been incarcerated? Okay. That's not the show. We didn't come here because we have someone in common that's been incarcerated. We came here for different reasons, right? So some spaces, we're coming to talk about criminal justice reform, and everybody's hands goes up. But we came here for that. But in this case, it's a reality for the condition of black and brown people that someone close to you, someone as a neighbor, someone in your neighborhood, someone that is in your family, or someone that you know personally like yourself has been in negative conflict with the law, but constantly told that you get what you deserve. This is a just society. I'm making a lot of correlations, I'm making a lot of connections to how injustice perpetuates itself, and the people who say I'm not directly affected stand by and let it keep happening. So the work of this organization, the Inner City Muslim Action Network, identifies what are the core challenges of our community, and let's not only protest, stand up, vocalize, bring attention to it, but let's create programs that assist in transformation, community healing, health, wellness, and healing in the inner city, through the arts, through proper articulation of the problems by the people who are directly affected. Give them the microphone. Let them speak. Let them share their story. Let them be about the solution. And that is something that powers the runaway slave, the Underground Railroad, the abolitionists. When you allow for your voice to be heard and your reality to be charged and your actions to be focused, then these things continue on generation to generation until you have the freedom you're looking for, you're fighting for. It didn't take one generation for the Underground Railroad to work. It took generations. It wasn't one person, Harriet Tubman, but it was the many that she inspired and was inspired by to become that icon, that Muhammad Ali. And through that, through the story of transmitting what you believe, how you feel, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, how you're willing to mobilize to approach a government that seems to be, or a power, an organized power that seems to be too big to fight, too large to overcome. Then there's a story of the David versus Goliath. that moves generations that never saw them, never met them, never sat with them. But it's the story of people like them, the Muhammad Alis of the world, continue to reach the masses who are fighting for the struggle of freedom, fighting to overcome their challenges and their oppression. They will mobilize, they will work, they will come together, they will use that to make change happen. And that's what I call all of us to do, is to take our stories, take the stories we've heard, take the stories in the life that God has given us, and use it to mobilize, use it to take action, use it to begin to really say that wasn't for then, but it's for now. And that comes from the stories of great and old, from the prophets. And it comes down to your nephew, your son, your brother, your sister, yourself, taking that story to move things, to mobilize, to organize, and to take action. So may Allah give us the strength. May Allah give us the proper reflection on the work that we do, the joy and the love that comes from working from a point of passion and commitment, but knowing that our service in this life is our faith. And if we're not serving, then we're not people.